So, I've had the Guns N' Roses song Civil War going through my head for like the last week. This is the off week and it doesn't have a theme song yet. This is all you get. So, welcome to the off week. I am Trae. This is the show we do here at Nerd and Tie. Any week we're not doing a regular episode of the podcast and we don't have any big special planned. So, yeah. This episode of the off week we are talking about Captain America Civil War, which has just come out in theaters this weekend. In the US, it's been out for a week. Other places in the world, which is kind of backwards for the way it is normally, but who cares? Went out, saw Civil War, and I have thoughts. I have big thoughts, small thoughts, little thoughts. And like what happened when I saw Batman vs. Superman, I'm going to tell you about them. So let's get right to that. The first thing we're going to talk about, this is not a short movie. This is a 2.5 hour long movie. Like Batman vs. Superman was. Only the difference is that every single shot in this film felt necessary. In fact, there was nothing extraneous in this entire movie that didn't need to be there. That's kind of great. It's the real important thing is that it's getting harder and harder. Maybe I'll do a video on this just alone, but it's getting harder and harder for me to think of Marvel films, as standalone pieces. And it's because the way that they've had this interconnected narrative and universe that, I mean, really, even if you're going to leave out, like if you were only going to watch the necessary films to go into this film, you'd still be watching at least 5 movies, right? Because you'd have to watch, besides the 2 earlier Captain America movies, you'd need to watch the Avengers, but to understand the Avengers, you need to watch Thor, so the first Thor movie. So, yeah, you have to watch Captain America 1, Thor, doesn't really matter the order for those 2, and then you'd have to watch the Avengers, and then you'd have to watch Civil War, and then you'd have to watch Age of Ultron, and that's the bare minimum. Think about all the other movies. You cannot jump into this film without knowing the stuff. And I mean, it's the 3rd movie, but it's really the whatevereth movie in this larger series as we open phase 3. The fact that we're calling them phases is, I think it's maybe best to think of this as season 3. This is the season 3 opener of the Marvel Cinematic. Yeah, I'll do a whole other thing on that. But I love everything that came into this. I've heard people talk about how it's the Avengers movie they really wanted with Age of Ultron, but I don't think this movie can happen without Age of Ultron. I think Age of Ultron suffered from being a bridging film in the narrative. It suffered from just having to be that thing to get us from point A to point C. It had to be that middle point. And I think that you wouldn't have the phenomenal Civil War without that. I'm really, really, really losing track here. So let's jump back to some basic stuff. Let's talk about some stuff that I liked. As you can tell, I totally rehearsed this and prepared, like, absolutely. Yeah. So anyways, let's talk about the new characters who we meet in this film. The big heroes we meet for the first time in this movie are Black Panther and Spider-Man, who are both really big deals. Both on the same side of the fight. Anyways, Spider-Man we get to meet Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which is such a big deal introduction. But it could have easily derailed the film and all this other backstory, but they just pretty much said, hey, you know who Spider-Man is. Like, we could go give you 2 shots and, like, you understand who Spider-Man is. Spider-Man living in an apartment now and not in a brownstone or a house, which is fine. That's cool. Whatever. As an adult, he lives in an apartment. Or at least he did when I was reading his comics up until Joe Quesada ruined it. I mean, sorry. That's an aside. But overall, I really like the way they introduced Spider-Man. I think he's really great in the part. Let's talk about Black Panther, though. Black Panther was great, and possibly the only sane, reasonable man in this entire universe who's able to take new information and make new decisions based off of that new information. God bless you, Black Panther. I am very excited for your movie. So he's pretty great. You know, I could spend 10 minutes telling you how awesome this film is, and it is awesome. I loved everything about it, even the giant block title location screens. I liked everything. But there's one thing that's been bothering me about the film that, and this is major spoilers, so if you have not seen the movie, stop the video, go see the movie. Go see the movie. Do that. But it has to do with the prison for superheroes. Like, I understand building a special, like, besides the fact that they put all these guys in prison without any due process, which is a whole issue when, you know, American citizens, but, I mean, I guess there's a parallel there to Guantanamo, but, while I understand characters like, Wanda Maximoff, who has superhuman abilities, being put in a place like that, and then people who are ordinary people who use super technology, I start getting more questionable. Like, why are they in a special prison? Why wouldn't you take a suit and put in a regular? Why wouldn't they just stand trial for with any guy, you know, getting into a big fight at an airport? Like, we've normal prisons and rules for that. Why would you need a special ocean prison for that? And, you know, you get that gives you people like, you know, Ant-Man and even Falcon. But then there's Hawkeye. Hawkeye's a guy with a bow and arrow. He's just a guy with a bow and arrow. Why was Hawkeye put in the special prison? I mean, think about it. Hawkeye's just a guy with a bow and arrow. No special skills, besides just being a skilled fighter, but there's nothing superhuman about any of it. He's never taken any super soldier serum. He's just a guy with a bow and arrow, and I mean, he's impressive with it. You know, he deserves to be an Avenger. I'm not like criticizing him as a superhero, because Batman's a superhero and Batman needs 20 million toys to do what Clint Barton can do with a bow and arrow. But, like, you can just put him in a regular jail cell. Just don't give him a bow and arrow, right? Right? Why is he in special jail? Special secret underwater jail. I don't get it. I don't get it. You could just, if you want to put him into an illegal government prison, put him in Guantanamo Bay. I mean, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense is what I'm saying. Also, that's a really expensive prison. Just think about that for a minute. Okay, so that's my only qualm with the film. I will say it's going to be really interesting to see what happens now that apparently most of the Avengers are outlaws, and because they didn't actually resolve the fact that the Sokovia Accords exist. Like, this is going to have major effect on so much stuff, because most of the superheroes now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are operating outside the law. The Avengers are shattered, which is going to make getting them together for whatever they end up calling Infinity, because Avengers 3 and 4 are no longer be called Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. They're going to have different titles, which is, you know, placeholder titles are placeholder titles. But what are they going to do? How are they going to get us out of there? And I think that's going to make for a really interesting narrative. Yeah, especially since the next film we're getting is Doctor Strange, which is going to not involve any of these characters. And we've got, we got to wait till next year, pretty much. Because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm sure, will come up with something that we'll get this week. And then the people making the movies will completely ignore it. And it'll still, make sense, but, I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a lot. But, yeah. Also, I know that Sharon Carter is a love interest of Captain America in the comics. But that's still creepy, right? I'm not alone. That's still, weird. Isn't it? I mean, I can't be the only one. No, it's weird. Super weird. Like and subscribe, people. Like and subscribe.